Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the show. This is Psycho Silver. My name is Jerome. Thank you so much for putting on my show. I do hope that today you're counting your wealth in ounces and also, especially, that you're holding your word, that you're holding your word to yourself. Above all, thanks again for putting on the show. We have a silver and world news show tonight. And there's so much going on that it's pretty ridiculous. I might have to do two shows tonight. I just need to make sure my voice holds up, and we'll do two because once again, I had to stop my research because I filled up too many items to go over, and it's all fire. It's all good stuff. None of it's just junk stuff. So I got a great show for you. And before I dive in, though, I do have one topic that I want to just give my 2 cents on. With all the crazy things that we see are happening, uh, there's many people that suspect that we are about to have a really hard time as a society. And by a hard time, I mean possibly not being able to depend upon the infrastructure that we're used to. And I'm seeing some influencers out there, uh, not all, but some. There's some influencers that are more or less against silver. And one of the things that I've been hearing, I would say too many times, is that you can't eat silver. That silver's no good in a collapse. That all you really need is protection, land, skills, and so forth. But because you can't eat silver or defend yourself with it, it's not preferred, or even some would say they went too far and said that it's worthless or a waste. I think that is so wrong. I want to give my 2 cents on this. The first thing, human society, we are different than animals because of how specialized we are. Humans do different tasks we perform a wide variety of different tasks for one another. It's the division of labor. It's a pretty basic economic principle. And because there are so many varieties of services and goods that we provide for one another, there needs to be a smart way to divide the labor. And there's none better than silver. That's why silver is the oldest money. Silver is the only money. Silver is the real money. And moving forward, no matter what happens, people will continue to do things for one another, and they will still continue to expect payment in return. And you run into all kinds of problems if you expect that you're going to be able to pay everyone in cans of beans and 9 millimeters. Not going to work. Even if you expect that you're going to be able to pay them in fresh produce, it's not going to work. There's not enough variety. Also, if we do reach a point where we are nearly completely or completely Mad Max style, it does, like your protection, you're in deep shit. And it's at that point, it's more about luck. You should be prepared. You should have protection. If you can afford, if you're in that position to have land, more power to you. Now, if I had the choice, I would prefer land, but that's very expensive, right? But there's other problems. Okay, here's the other problem: silver is portable. And that's one thing that is great about crypto. If you could trust one of them, like maybe Monero, for example, that's one I could get down with. There's a few of them that are anonymous. I mean, it's no good if it's not anonymous, right? And you know what you're doing on the internet to be able to conceal. Uh, and I don't even just mean from like the authorities. I would never suggest that. What I do mean is if someone knows who you are, and like Bitcoin, for example, if they know who you are and they've ever received or viewed a transaction you were involved with, well, now they know that now they know which wallet is yours, right? Big problems if they have your IP address and your wallet. Ooh, man, you are you not only are you not anonymous, but you're broadcasting your move to everybody, right? So silver's good for being portable. You cannot take land with you if you have to run. Silver is okay. So silver is heavy. I'll give you that. But not, I mean, these are trade offs, right? These are trade offs. Maybe you want gold instead, or at least some part, but gold doesn't have the same upside. Also, silver will always be valuable because of how useful it is. And even if we are in a Mad Max situation, silver is a store of energy. So sure, you can mine more silver out of the ground, but that takes an enormous amount of energy. And in a bar of silver, that energy is already locked in. And because silver's so useful, uh, if you even in a Mad Max, there's still going to be technology and companies that are going to want the silver. Uh, Rich people that will want the silver because that's how they create their technology. It's a vital piece to technology. And so because the energy in the silver is stored, that makes it infinitely more valuable than the energy in the ground, especially if you do have troubles with um, infrastructure. Also, the problem with lands and guns, I'm not saying don't have them, do have them. But another problem with those two is they're you run a high risk of confiscation, and it's also very easy to confiscate your land or your guns. They can make a million excuses. And sure, your silver could be confiscated too, but right now your guns are in far more danger, especially if you have to travel and you have to go through an area where you have problems with the people that are afraid of them there and they want to pass legislation. What if you need to pass through a state with your guns to get what you're going? Big problem. Whereas if you have silver, you have options down the road. Okay. That's the best part of silver is its options. The best part of money is it gives you options. That's why everyone wants money. You if you offered someone $1 million, or you offered somebody like everything that they dreamed of, like this is everything you want, take this, it's worth equally a million, they might take the million because uh when you take the million you got options. Like let's say you wanted a car and you could have the car or the $50,000. You'll probably take the $50,000 because what if you want a different color of car? What if you want that car but just not right now, you want it in a few months, right? That's money. And so of course the dollar is the most trusted money, but we are this is where we are. We're watching the channel. You're here because there's problems there, right? All good arguments for silver. Also, once again, I mean, these are trade-offs, okay? But consider consider the taxes that can be put upon you with land, with weapons. Also a problem. So, those are my arguments why you absolutely 100% need silver. You need the upside of silver too. If you love gold, gold's a good idea. If I had my perfect dream combination, there would be some combination of gold in there. And even there's room for cryptos, the right one, maybe Monero. But just remember, and you've probably already thought of this, but just remember, if there's an energy crisis or there's an internet outage, you're pretty fucked with crypto. And that scares me enough to no, I want it in my hand. Okay? So, I hope you appreciate my argument there, and I think I make very valid points. Leave a comment if you disagree. But here we go. We're gonna jump into the news now. Let's take a spin around the block here. First up, really interesting article from Gateway Pundit. Gateway Pundit writes, Russia cuts off gas to Italy just days after new prime minister uh, announces her support for Ukraine. How do you say this woman's name? I've read so much about her. How do you say her name? Let's have a look real quick. Mm-mm. I want to do her justice. I like the things she's been saying, really interesting stuff. If you haven't seen her speeches, I do suggest.
Georgia Maloney. Georgia Maloney.
Georgia Maloney. Okay. We're here to learn together, right, guys? Days after new Prime Minister Georgia Maloney announces her support for Ukraine. And so I know people were very excited over this election and why she's already jumping in on the side of Ukraine. I am not totally sure. I assume that maybe Italians feel very different about it, considering they're not giving Ukraine billions and billions of dollars, right? Or are they? Or are they? Uh, let's see if there's any nuggets that are ripe for the picking right here. Oh, in one of her first announcements since winning the election, Giorgia Meloni pledged her full support for Kiev after receiving congratulations from Zelensky in her election victory. On Saturday, Russian energy giant Gazprom suspended gas deliveries to Italy. The company blamed a transport problem in Austria. So we know that's bullshit, right? Here we have Putin playing games, saying that there's can't deliver it. What were they saying before? The other pipeline was needed maintenance. The real fear, the real thing to worry about here is an energy crisis, in my opinion. A banking crisis is serious. The big weaponry coming out is very serious. But we're on a scale here, and I think the big weapons, the big scary weapons, I don't feel are necessarily in play, at least in the sense they would probably only be strategic and tactical and wouldn't be used upon cities. Let's pray. A banking crash is coming for sure. So we're already dealing with that. But the scariest thing for me is an energy crisis. We'll just keep that on our back pocket there. Here we got some silver news. In the silver news, here's the COMEX numbers. The markets closed on Friday. So this is one day. This is 1 day old. We did see that register drains again. This is the lowest number that I've ever seen since I started paying attention to the register. We have the register at 42,215,000 ounces, the lowest. And we did see some silver enter into the vault. But just because that it goes into the vault doesn't mean that there's more silver. It just means that someone's using the vault for security. So there can be infinite, I mean, there can be X amount of silver in the vault, but it doesn't matter if it's not for sale. It has an owner. These vaults have good security. So what we keep an eye on is the registered. We know that if there's silver in the eligible, it can potentially be for sale. But who's going to sell at these prices? No one in their right mind. Here we have a tweet. Once again, I'm going to have to get better at pronouncing. This is a name that I wouldn't even attempt here. It's a German name. Good morning from Germany, where financial repression for savers is intensifying. Although nominal yields have risen well above 2%, inflation has also increased to 10. Real yields, 10 years minus inflation, 10-year bonds minus inflation at 7.9. An all-time low. Real yields are now negative for 77 consecutive months. Ooh, look at that chart too. Brutal chart. And who's buying these bonds? I don't know. But what I do tell people, what people don't often understand, is if you do have super, super big money, that is who buys bonds. Super big money. Everyone thinks they're gonna go and make a fortune on a shitcoin, right? But if you have like serious money or you're managed money, then you need bonds because there's just not that many places you can put your money that even has a yield. And again, Like you're worse off if you're in cash in this scenario. So yeah, it seems like a stupid idea to have bonds right now. But if you have big money, there's not necessarily stocks. There's not necessarily, unless you're like a blue chip stock, there's not necessarily stocks that can even safely hold a large amount of money. Next up, here we have a tweet from a user named Starship, Silver Starship. Who's that? That's me, Silver Starship. Here we got a post on Wall Street Silver. This is the hunchback beaker of the Chimu civilization in Peru. The 14th and 15th century, the Spaniards melted down treasures like this into bars and coins. So they had all these really, the natives there had all this really interesting figures made out of silver. And the Spanish, before they even like went to mine the silver, and there's excellent silver mines in Peru, and they had one silver mine in Peru that at one point produced like 1/5 of the wealth in the world. Forgive me, I don't remember the name, but there was one mine in Peru during this time, the 14th and 15th. No, it was the 16th century. It was after they got established. But the Spaniards became very, very wealthy off of one mine in Peru. It was enormous. Anyhow, during the time of this figurine here, silver is at 11-to-1 ratio with gold. Although Europe was crazy about gold, the precious metals coming to the Americas from Spain was 85% silver. And that's from world history. I hope you like my little research there. I'm going to keep doing more. Next up. Here we have a tweet from the Happy Hawaiian. Happy Hawaiian writes, precious metals open interest are a percent of total divided by registered inventories per CME. And look at platinum. Ooh, baby, I wish I had me some platinum right now. Look at that. 4,000%. And we thought silver was crazy. Seems like a good time to own some platinum, or maybe platinum producing stocks is a good idea. But depending on who you listen to, those stocks are going to be very risky right now because a lot of them are in Latin America, or they're just in places in general, Africa, that you could see mines nationalize, or you could see the mines change their business structure where they're not necessarily wanting to pay that out to the shareholders. In a world of scarcity where everyone's hunkering down, are your shares, your paper shares of these companies safe? I don't know. I know people like Bix Weir says they're not. And I like Bix Weir. Next up. Here we have a tweet from another name that I can't pronounce. This is the Oriental Ghost. This is so important right here. Please focus on this 1 second. This is very important. Silver inventory in Shanghai Gold Exchange and Shanghai Futures Exchange are both declining. The red line is the inventory and the black line is the transaction price. Data from ICBC. Nothing complicated about that. So we know for a fact that the silver is disappearing from the COMEX, it's disappearing from the LBMA, and now you see it on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. So all around the world, the silver is disappearing, being scooped up. Next up, we have a tweet from the architect. This guy was like off of the Matrix. That was an interesting character. The architect writes, when all hell breaks loose, it's going to happen quickly, and most people won't be ready. They will exist in a waking state of shock that will be the difference between the ones who make it and the ones who don't. They will exist in a waking state of shock, and that will be the difference between the ones who make it and the ones that don't. Interesting. That is doom and gloom there. Does that give you a little bit of adrenaline reading that? Is this fear porn? Here we have a story from the DW. They write Eurozone inflation is a record 10%, the highest in the history of the euro. And I'm happy to just take this headline here. Oh, they have a tweet underneath this. They write Euro area inflation is up to 10% in September 2022. Energy plus 40, food and tobacco 11, other goods 5.6, and services 4.3. Flash estimate. What I will say about this, I don't want to read this whole article, but what I will say about this is when I read this headline, I gotta say, I really had this reaction. I said, oh, it's only 10%. I thought it was higher. That's because I've been seeing the inflation from the Netherlands and from Germany, right? But again, this is a channel about the psychology of economics and finance. We've already been fucking desensitized. I've already been desensitized. 10 didn't seem that high to me when I saw it. I almost didn't even pick this article out. Can you imagine that? How desensitized are we right now? 10. So because I've been seeing the statistics for Germany and from the Netherlands, 10 didn't seem that high to me. But 10 it's a record high and it's all over the Eurozone. Incredible. And so we're so used to, and I think this is not just financial news. I think that it's all news. We are completely desensitized to the point where all these terrible things happen. We don't even, is it like the architect said? Are we already there? Are we underestimating how much trouble we're in currently? I mean, is this, the architect writes, they will exist in a waking state of shock. Are we already almost there? I think it just hasn't gotten super real for some of us yet. Next up. I did pull this, this is interesting. I did pull this article earlier today. And so we're foreshadowing here. Credible source tells me major international investment bank is on the brink. Who could that be? Michael Gay replied, I want to read his reply. Look at the chart of Credit Suisse and tell me again we aren't in for another financial crisis. Look at the chart of long government bonds and tell me again we aren't in another financial crisis. We are way past an inflation crisis. This is now a credit crisis. Let's see if he posted that chart. No, he did not. Ooh, look at that. Credit Suisse credit default swaps spread. Credit Suisse is back to 2008 when there was a full-blown financial crisis. Well, look, this looks like an interesting. I'm gonna follow, even though they're pushing Bitcoin. I'm gonna follow this account. They look like they might be interesting. Next up. Here we have a post in Wall Street Bets. Come on, baby. Load for daddy. So many tabs. Oh, the post was deleted. Oh my God. That's so disappointing. Can I refresh it? Will it be if I page back? Please be there. Please, 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 please. Oh my God. I lost the post. That is terrible. That is so disappointing, guys. I freaking lost that post. I'll tell you about it. That post was deleted by the user, okay? And what happened, I'll tell you what happened with that post there. Let me get me on the big screen. That makes the story more interesting. So this user on Wall Street Bets wrote that he made a bunch of investments on leverage. I do believe that he was betting, he was shorting and the markets did rise like a little tiny bit one day. I guess the day that he shorted, or the company that he shorted, and he was being margin called, and he was trying to find a way out of that margin call. He was suggesting that maybe he doesn't have the funds in his account, and that he goes and because his bank and his financial institution, he has a good relationship with them. He has instant transfers, and he said, I'm going to instant transfer money to this account to keep it funded so I don't get margin called even though the money's not there. And he said, either in one day uh the markets will move down again and he'll be out of the danger of he won't be being liquidated anymore, or the transfer won't go through, and then he'll just go to the bank and apologize and say that he did it on mistake. So he was gonna transfer money he didn't have to cover his margin call. And people were like, "Dude, you're over here confessing to felonies." That's why he deleted the post. That's got to be very, very illegal. And I wish that gentleman luck. I wish I had saved that post. I don't want to put him on blast and get him on trouble, but that was pretty. How many people are doing something similar right now? Not just on their stupid stock market bets, but who's playing this game with their mortgage, with their car payments, with their student loans? Uh, who's playing this game to just buy some food or put some gas today? Hmm? For reals, you know what's happening. Very, very funny in this case, because these guys in Wall Street bet. Sometimes you see a post where, someone makes a couple hundred K on a really aggressive and dangerous gamble, and they celebrate each other, they get a lot of likes. But once in a while you see a post like that of someone that's ruining their life. We looked at one the other day. There was a kid that lost his father's inheritance, and they go to Wall Street bets and they think that they can do it too. And 99% of you can't. You can't do it. And if you do it once, you probably think you can do it again, and you won't. That's the crypto mentality. And I've taken a ride. Personally, I've taken a ride on crypto. I made a really good bet on Tron, and I was holding a whole shitload of it. It went to incredible heights. I thought I was rich for like 2 hours. I should have sold. I didn't sell. I was like, it's gonna go higher than this, and it crashed spectacularly. The good thing is I didn't lose any money on that, but that was pretty disappointing. I took that roller coaster up way high and back down. But that's what you got to expect messing with crypto. Next up, we do have a tweet from Michael Berry here. Another feeling I'm getting is mid-late 2000. Free cash flow totally on sale and ignored while former momentum stocks are coming down, but not far enough. And darling, better businesses still have a ways to fall. Value is about to take off for years despite more crash on the way. Okay, let's have a little history time. This is the Lydian silver stater. How beautiful that is. Can we get closer? Beautiful. That's like a tiger or a lion, and it's getting an antelope or a deer or something there. Beautiful. This, they say, is the first official coin. That precious metals were used as money before, but this was stamped and sanctioned by a government. And this is 560, between 560 and 546 BCE. Beautiful. Okay, let me read you a little bit about this. Gold and silver were used as currency as means of facilitating commercial exchange long before the first coins arose. Rings or ingots of precious metals were used by travelers and traders across the ancient world, but they had to be weighed and verified each time a transaction took place in order to reckon their value in a trade. Coins, coins with the standardized weights eliminated this time consuming problem, rendering them more efficient, an expedient conduit of commerce. Let me read that again. Rings or ingots of precious metals were used by travelers and traders across the ancient world, but they had to be weighed and verified each time a transaction took place in order to reckon their value in a trade. Coins, with their standardized weights, eliminated this time consuming problem, rendering them a more efficient and expedient conduit of commerce. So someone's going to tell me that silver and gold are no good in a Mad Max situation. You need food, and you need bullets, and you need weapons, and you need land. Excuse me, okay? 540 BCE was Mad Max. that was Mad Max. They were living like Mad Max, and they needed money. Why? Because trade is what humans do. They perform services for one another, and they produce things for one another, and they need a reliable way to divide their money and get paid for their labor in a way that gives them options later. You need options. It's all about the gold and silver. And what's interesting about these things right here too is what's really cool about them. Check this out. You're going to love this. The Lydian stater was composed of electrum, a naturally occurring gold-silver alloy. The coins were often reported to be struck from this natural occurring alloy. They were actually made from a specific and rather consistent mix of 55% gold, 45% silver, and a small balance of copper. It was a fucking coin. Some things never change, baby. Never change. Now we have coins that are more exclusively gold or silver. But hold on. Check this out. This is so interesting. Did you know? I didn't know this. Did you know that 14 karat gold and 10 karat gold is also gold and silver together? I didn't know that. I just learned that. Where is the percent? Okay. I thought I had the percentages ready to go here. If I don't find them in a second here, it's no big deal. But I wanted you to see the percentage. Okay, long story short, the lower carats of gold, the more silver that's often in them. And so like they'll use other stuff to make it hard or give it color, including copper or zinc or nickel for 14 karat gold. But long story short, this Lydian stater was 55% gold, okay, and 45% silver. Right now, that's like 14 karat gold. I think it's 65% gold and the rest silver and like a little tiny bit of copper or another white metal. Interesting. Some things never fucking change. You're out of your mind if you think that precious metals are ever going to be rendered irrelevant. You're out of your mind. You just don't know. This is forever, like they say. And I think it was Kiyosaki that started it. Silver is God's money. And one thing that I learned from Rafi Faber as well, this is important. It's gold and silver. They are one. Gold is for the banks and the large institutions, and silver is for transactions. The silver is a way of dividing the gold. They are one and the same. They've always been. Look, they are one and the same. The oldest coin in the world is gold and silver together. And they were able already then to separate them out, but they wanted them together to make a beautiful metal with different properties. Gold is super duper too soft. but it has a higher intrinsic value than silver. I don't know why that is. People just agree upon it. So they made it out of gold and silver, and they add a little bit of something else to give it a different qualities. Isn't that fucking amazing? So amazing. If you're not excited by that, you're not even watching my channel. But one thing that I did want to know is, where is this Lydian? Like, what is this place? And it was actually hard to find. I said, where was this culture? This Lydian, and they didn't even give a map on this world history. I was like, I kind of want to know, where is this place? So I did do the research to find that this Lydia, this is modern day Turkey. To me, that's so interesting. So the first money, the first real coinage comes from Turkey. And I have this theory about, there's a few places, and I say this a lot, but I'm going to get around to it. There's just certain places around the world that are so interesting. The Cayman Islands, Turkey. Turkey is some sort of epicenter of power that I don't think we're fully explained the importance of. Turkey is an old, prestigious empire. And now people don't usually, they usually don't consider Turkey like this great, huge power right now. But I think there's some silent power behind Turkey. It's not synonymous with power right now, the same way as these other countries are, right? But I think there's old influence and old money in Turkey. And we're going to look into that. I've heard some rumors about the bankers love Turkey because it's their where they're from. It's where the Turkey and the bankers is the epicenter of their power. I've heard that. And I'm not ready to say which particular clan of bankers. That's why I'm kind of stumbling right here, because I don't want to bring up that particular name right now. Not yet. If I get a whole bunch of followers, right, and subscribers, there's gonna be a point where I gotta roll the dice a little bit, okay? But we're not gonna do that quite yet. But there's something mysterious and powerful. Okay, next slide. Here's a tweet on Wall Street Silver by Boat Surfer. I wonder who Boat Surfer is. I really like this Boat Surfer. I think he's a mod on Wall Street Silver. But he's just quoting Putin here. And we're going to read this. Putin, in his most recent speech, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. Putin said they print money, but you cannot warm your homes with printed money. They have to convince their citizens to shower less, eat less, put on warm clothes. The Western elites, it's a crisis due to their own fault. He described that the goal of the hybrid war in Ukraine has a goal to break Russia at any cost. Putin says, the dictatorship of the Western elite is directed against all societies, including against the peoples of those Western countries themselves. It's a challenge for all. This means the total negation of the human, to overthrow of religion and traditional values, as the crushing of freedom becomes to look like the opposite of religion. It's open Satanism. Did Putin just say the Western banking cartel is full of Satanists that are anti-human? Did he really just say that? Did he really just say that the money printing is a big problem? Because you can't feed yourself and warm your home with printed money. I'm going to play you one. This is real. Again, I procured this clip because it's so interesting. I'm going to take a bathroom break, and I'm determined. I'm doing these all in one take because I want to get really good and start doing it live. So I'm going to continue doing it. It would be an easy place to time out and, come back on. But I want to do one take. And I'm going to continue on this until we're live streaming. But I did, for you, procure this interesting snippet from an interview from Catherine Austin Fitz. And you check this out, and I'll be back in a jiffy. Check this out. She's more interesting than I am anyway, so you're not losing nothing. You definitely want to see this. This is so good.
It looks interesting. The next
Yeah.
thing you know, you got an FBI with a subpoena at the door.
Right.
You
They didn't
know?
even dream about this in the 50s. I mean, this is really remarkable. And what's fascinating
Well,
to me,
you remember what they're trying to institute is slavery. They're not
yes.
they're not trying that's what I try and get people to understand who are worried about collapse.
Hmm.
You should pray they collapse. Now,
And
we're not in the middle of a collapse. They're collapsing us. You know what I
yeah,
mean? There's a
right.
difference between a collapse and a controlled demolition and a bank robbery,
Yeah,
right? So, right. Okay. So, um, you can't assume that the vast majority of the people in the system know what they're doing. It's the
hmm,
only way I can describe it. They don't see the big picture. I've never gotten into a boardroom where I couldn't, within a reasonable period of time, help people understand what they were dealing with and how they might, sort of turn and pivot and change.
right.
It's remember all the people who are trying, a lot of the people who are trying to deal with this are on a need to know basis.
Hmm.
They don't see the big picture and they're not responsible for the whole. So think of it this way. I once said to one of my partners who had grown up on Montserrat, I said to him, "How come I have so many partners who come from islands?" And he said, "When you're on an island, you realize what goes around comes around. And over
Hmm.
many years, even when you're young, you realize you've got to take responsibility for the whole too. Because
Right.
if you don't, what's going to come around and hit you?" And so you really see how what you put out is what comes back. There really is sort of this wheel of karma.
Hmm.
Now, the United States has always been such a big country, and in the political process in Washington, everybody believes the effective tactic is to just be out for themselves. So
Yeah.
nobody cares about the whole, nobody takes responsibility for it. Nobody realizes the karma comes back around. See what I mean? So
Yes.
they're just it's like the congressman I told you about, the congressman I was having dinner with, and they rang the bell for appropriations vote, and he got up in the middle of the meal, and he turned to me and he said, "Let's face it, honey, I'm only here to protect my shit." And I walked up to vote.
Don't you love her? If I would be so thrilled if this is the first time you've encountered this Catherine Austin Fitz. If I'm the one that shows her to you, I've served you, and I hope you know that. Check out all her interviews. She is one of the most interesting people out there, very knowledgeable, and she has deep, deep inside connections. She really knows what's going on. That's one of the most interesting interviews you'll ever encounter. So please do go check that out if you have the opportunity. And we're going to jump back into the news. Minimize. Let's jump back. Next up, here we have a tweet from Gold Telegraph. And look, this is around 1 p.m. of October 1st, but Gold Telegraph writes, Credit Suisse CEO says bank is at critical moment. Been covering this for a while. Trouble in paradise. Ooh. The CEO said that, eh? Here, Lisa Hu writes, if you had 1 million USD in your bank account since 2015, the purchasing power today, 700,000 USD, 140 Turkish lira, 40,000 Lebanese lira, 30,000 Argentine peso, Venezuelan bolivar. However, if you had Bitcoin, that would be worth 61,000 or 61 million. This is a little bit okay. the value of this tweet is I wanted to point out the inflation in these other countries, and I don't doubt her. Like, I know that's factual what she's saying about Bitcoin there. But here's the thing: no one fucking knew about Bitcoin in 2015. You're ultra dork if you knew about Bitcoin in 2015. Nobody did. And I'll tell you one thing about me is I was really interested in Bitcoin then, and I do regret not doing this differently. But what happened to me is I was like thrilled. I was watching videos by the anonymous hacker group, and the YouTube was all full of like anonymous. It was like this big thing, and they were making all these spooky videos threatening bankers. And I was super stoked on. I was telling my friends about it, and I did one time. I was gonna take my tax return and put it into Bitcoin, right? And I just went about trying to figure out how to do it, and I couldn't. Like, I gave up. I gave up. And so you can put me down and say it's because I'm not smart or whatever, but there was not real wallets then. The wallets were weird, and you had to go on all these different like forums and have it explained to you, and you got your like paper address, and it was like I couldn't figure out how to do it. I regret not doing it, but it was not like it was today where you just download an app. Like, I couldn't figure out how to like get attach my money to the Bitcoin and get it transferred into where. Like, who do I pay? Who do I pay for some Bitcoin? And how do I get it? It was very convoluted, and of course I wish that I had done it, but even for someone that was interested, it took more than interest to be able to get your hand on some Bitcoin. Then, like, you needed some dedication. True story. Okay, next up. Here we have a few tweets from the real Kiyosaki, Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki writes, will US dollar follow the English pound sterling? I believe it will. The US dollar will crash by January 2023 after Fed pivots. To profit from the crash of the USD, I bought many more silver buffalo rounds. Silver is a bargain. I will not be a victim of the fucked up Fed. Take care. Highlighter going so you can follow me. Robert Kiyosaki writes, America's birthplace is in New England. Old England died this week. Old English pound died this week, as did Old English pensions. Is America's New England next? Remember, crashes make the rich richer. Don't be a victim like Old English of Old England. Think and act with new vigor. Robert has been writing some heavy duty tweets lately. This guy is he's like he's the one with the platform and the followers to speak this truth right now. Like, this is kind of his time. There's plenty of other guys, don't get me wrong, but he's been at this for a really long time, and it's coming to a head, and he's been establishing his credibility on this topic for decades already. Okay? And he's taken so much heat for his predictions that this ought to be happening sooner, and everyone's like, you say that every year, you've been saying that for 20 years. Doesn't make him wrong. I think people need to understand how long these things take in real time. When you read about it in a history book, it seems like it happens overnight. It doesn't happen overnight, okay? And even at one point, and here's the funny part, at one point it will be overnight. At a tipping point, it will be overnight. It'll be over the course of 40, 50, 60 years, and then the last 50% will be overnight. Okay, let me read one more tweet. These are great tweets. Robert writes, historically, inflation leads to revolution. Revolution leads to dictators like Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, Mao. Vote like Italy. Vote in strong leaders. Vote out losers like B. Our future and our children's future depends on the next election. Vote for freedom, not tyranny. I suppose I'm probably safe to say the B word, right? I don't know. Next up. Here we have a tweet from another name that I can't pronounce. And this tweet here I'll just go ahead and I'll let you read this. Since I found this tweet, it's been shared in quite a few places too. It's a good tweet. Next up. It's a good meme. I said tweet twice. I meant meme. Next up. Here's a really interesting article from Zero Hedge. Zero Hedge says, visualizing the world's population at 8 billion at some point in late 2022, the 8 billionth human will enter the world, ushering a new milestone for humanity. In just 48 years, the world's population has doubled in size from 4 to 8 billion. Frightening. Frightening, not because I don't necessarily believe that that's unsustainable. But once again, what I say every episode of this show and what remains to be true is things that go vertical, any chart, any data that goes fully vertical, any what's the right word I'm looking for? Anytime there's an occurrence where you have rapid change, a rapid increase in anything usually precedes a rapid decrease. Does that make sense? Things that go up really quickly come down really quickly. And it's true of charts in equities, charts in crypto. No matter what it is, it's true of energy. It's true of production. We're gonna, in fact, because I bring this up so much, I will need to really flesh this out. And that can be a video right there. Things that go up quickly come down quickly. And that's just one of the laws of nature. Onto the article though. Here's a graphic of 8 billion people. You got China and India. Look at India. Wow. And they don't even occupy the same amount of space, right? That's what's. Let me get myself off the screen. Interesting. Africa's population. Nigeria and Ethiopia are the largest, most populated. So Nigeria has 218 million. So that is somewhat smaller than America. That is interesting. I mean, there's context for you right there. And in the case of India, how much bigger than America would they be? They would be 5 times bigger. At least more like 6 or 7, eh? I do recommend checking this article out. Russia would be the biggest in Europe. I'm surprised that, okay, so Ukraine here, that's pretty interesting. I would not expect them to be as populous as they are. Are you learning anything from this? Well, Brazil is huge. Anyway, this article is on Zero Hedge. If you have, I love looking at these kinds of graphs, even if I don't even have an objective. I'll just sit there and stare at it. I love that stuff. Let's go to the next slide here. FX Hedge writes, Credit Suisse is at critical moment as bank prepares for the latest overhaul. Uh-oh. One thing everyone can agree on, the Fed is always late. and then it overreacts. The next reversal will be bananas, and that reversal is referring to when they do start with the quantitative easing again. You can see that the balance sheet of central banks has gone down 3 trillion in the past 7 months. And that is a frightening, I don't know what it means, but man, like in terms of like logistics, I don't exactly understand that, but there's for sure your liquidity drying up, and that is where you get a credit crisis. So we're either on one side or another. Like I was saying, we're choosing between inflation and credits and defaults. To be able to avoid both would mean to be having a healthy economy, but in order to have a healthy economy, you need a balanced budget. You need sound money, and we don't got nothing like that. And America being the world's reserve currency, big problems for everyone around the world. Let's see if this was a funny. Do you realize the tiny circle in red is all the Fed has reduced its balance sheet so far, right? You want to talk about overreaction? Look at the increase. Talking about time. Can't reduce a Ponzi. I got a sound for that. I need to get better at using my sounds.
This thing is a pyramid since time immemorial. Shit runs downhill, money goes up. It's that simple.
This shit's a pyramid. Got to get better at using the sounds. Make it more entertaining for you guys. Next up. You already saw that one. I got some more good ones though, for sure. So, as the day unfolds, it appears that they're more and more certain that it is Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse by 4 key numbers, 100 billion cash, 400 billion at call liabilities, 900 billion leveraged exposure, 40 billion equity. So I'm no economist, right? But isn't it like a pretty bad thing if your liabilities completely exceed your cash and your equity by double? Isn't it worse? It's got to be so much worse if your leverage is that high. What multiple of leverage is that? 4.5. That's the sound of shit getting real. Economic Ninja writes, I bet bank failures begin next week. I love this reply. If true, it would now be the most predicted black swan in history. If everyone's thinking the same, someone isn't thinking. That is interesting. It would be a predicted black swan. I guess we need a catalyst, eh? They're really good at never taking credit. By them, I mean, this is what I mean.
We are not gamblers here at the Iron Bank, Lord Tyrell. We are not gamblers here at the Iron Bank, Lord Tyrell.
Oh, they know that they know it's coming. They had a hand in it, right? And it's gonna come when they want it to. But since they never take responsibility, they must need an event as a catalyst to blame. Could it be Putin? Oh, that's a good one. I need to get the church lady saying there should be someone doing the church lady. Is it, could it be Putin? That would be awesome. Okay. Oh, I'm not following the economic ninja. That's a shame. I'll go follow this guy now. Here we have a chart. Here we have a chart of this is the stock chart of Credit Suisse. Or is it? Let me make sure I know what this is. Is this the stock price? Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse are tanking more right now than the financial crisis of 2009. There are so many indicators that we are headed towards a major financial crisis. Yeah, it is. Let's see if we have a good comment. I bet there's a good comment underneath this. I can feel it. No person above the law writes, nah. This is simply months of Russian sanctions affecting Putin's oligarch money. No money, no money laundering. No money laundering, no Deutsche Bank. While it's tough for everyday Russians, the upside will reduce the number of oligarchs stealing from them. That and Windows. Man, I don't really even... I mean, maybe I'll entertain a thought. We can consider something, but no, I don't think so. This user writes, remember all those rumors weeks ago, the Vatican calling its money in? Yeah, I fucking do. Everyone remembers that. Everybody remembers that.
Wolves can be dangerous, but also friendly. Wolves can be dangerous, but also friendly.
And this will be our last tweet for this show. And like I said, I think I'm gonna do 2 tonight. We'll see. Jonesy writes, Credit Suisse CDS, that's credit default swaps, close to surpassing the levels last seen during the Great Financial Crisis. Oh, what did they say? That's probably nothing. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, and I did see over here. Here we go. We have Credit Suisse trending too. Big yikes. Big yikes. Campbell writes, the death spiral is irreversible once the derivative exposures start getting novated. AKA other banks start moving profitable derivatives away from your bank. Yes, that is the contagion. Implicitly forcing the new counterparty to accept credit risk on your account. This is what led to JPM. This is what led JPM to kill Lehman. Yes. All right, guys. We did a solid hour here. There is so much more we can be looking at right now. But let's round this episode out and conclude it here pretty much on the 1 hour mark. I do appreciate you watching my channel. I hope I was of value on this video. I really hope I did something valuable for you. Please, if you did watch this, I would appreciate a like. I would double appreciate a comment. Even if your comments just say, hey, your show's garbage, you should be doing this or that better. I'm totally cool with that. What else? That's it. That's the episode for now. I do appreciate you, and I hope you are in good health. And I'll see you very soon. Night.